Hey my friends, welcome to Joey's Tech. In this video, you will learn how to handle missing data in Pandas. In this video, you will learn how to identify missing values in a Pandas data frame. Then you will learn how to fill missing values in a Pandas data frame. And finally, you are going to learn how to drop missing values effectively. So this video is going to be very exciting. So make sure that you watch this video till the end. So without wasting any time, let's start the video. I highly recommend that you follow along with me in this video to learn this important concept in Pandas in depth. So first you will import Pandas like this. There is another library NumPy which we are going to require as well. So let's import it too. Now we'll work with a sample finance dataset that has the data of stock transactions. So in the interest of time, I am going to directly paste the data over here like this. Let's execute this code block as well. We are going to create a data frame df from this data using the data frame function of Pandas now. Let's see the data now by printing it. Alright, we have our data frame ready. Now first you will learn to identify where the missing values are. Let's check the missing values using the isna function, which checks for missing values and returns a data frame of true and false. Let's do it. Let's learn the use of isna function. So we create a new data frame df_isna and we write simply df.isna. Now we print this data frame. You can see wherever there is true in this new data frame, there the data is missing. You can confirm it against this original data frame. Now if you want to summarize missing values by column, means you need to find the count of missing values per column. Then we use the sum function using the isna function. So it will be a new data frame df_isna_sum equals to df.isna function dot sum function. Let's print this data frame now df_isna_sum. Let me execute it. And you can see it displays count of missing values per column. Now let's compare it against the original data frame. So does a stock have two missing values? Let's check. Yes, there are two missing values. Does the buyer have two missing values? Let's check. Okay, there is one none over here and another none over here. All right, so this function works just fine for us. Now, if you want to find out rows where a stock is missing, that means the column stock has no value, then we can do it simply by writing a new data frame df_missing_stock equals to df within square brackets df again within square brackets within single quotes stock, and then we are going to call the isna function. If we print this data frame df_missing_stock now, let me execute this code block. And you can see that all the rows where there is no stock are printed. So you have learned a few ways to query the missing data in Pandas data frame. Now get ready to learn how to fill missing values in a Pandas data frame. For that, we'll use fillna function. Let's say in our data frame within the stock column, we want to replace these missing values with the label unknown so that there are no blanks for analysis. To do that, we will write df within square brackets within single quotes stock equals to df within square brackets within single quotes stock again dot fillna function. Here we used the fillna function within whose brackets within single quotes we'll write unknown. We print the df now. If we execute this, you can see that the label unknown appears instead of the missing values now. That is, after Google and after Apple, you can verify it against the original data frame. You can see that the quantity column has a few missing values represented by NaN. You may want to replace them with 0 to assume no units were traded, and to do that, we write df within square brackets within single quotes quantity equals to df within square brackets within single quotes quantity again dot fillna function within whose brackets we'll pass 0. Now let's say I don't want to distort the calculations which I do using the price column. So I want to fill the missing values in the price column with the mean of these values. So I will write df within square brackets within single quotes price equals to df within square brackets within single quotes price again dot fillna, and within whose brackets we'll write df within square brackets within single quotes price again dot mean function. We are going to use the mean function. Let's print the df now, and you can see that the quantity column has zeros in place of missing values now, and the price column has mean populated in place of missing values. There is another function that is more flexible for replacing missing values, and it's called replace. We'll use it to replace the missing buyers with anonymous. To use it, we write df within square brackets buyer equals to df within square brackets buyer again dot replace, and within brackets we write curly brackets within which we write np dot nan colon, within single quotes we write anonymous. Okay, let's execute this. If we print the df now, you can see anonymous in place of missing values in the buyer column. Let's look at another method, interpolate, which estimates missing values by patterns in the data. So let's use interpolate on the price column. So I'll have to reload my data frame df to include the missing columns again. So let me run this code block and then this code block. Let's print df and check whether the missing values are appearing again or not. There you go, they are there. Now let me write df within square brackets within single quotes price equals to df price again dot interpolate, within brackets we'll write method equals to within single quotes linear. I'm gonna print the df now. If we run this, you can see price column has no missing values now. The missing values are replaced by interpolated values. Alright, you can see here the linear interpolation is used, which calculates missing values by assuming a straight line relationship between known values. So how this value got calculated is beyond the scope of this video, but if you want to know, then let me know in the comment section. Let's now use interpolate on the date column. So first we'll convert the date column into date time by writing df within square brackets within single quotes, it will be date equals to pt dot to underscore date time function we are going to use, within whose brackets it will be df within square brackets within single quotes date again. Let me execute this. And now we are going to use the interpolate method on the same column. So we are going to write df date again equals to df within square brackets within single quotes date dot interpolate, within whose brackets it will be method equals to within single quotes linear. Now if we execute this and print the data frame now, you can see that the missing values are gone. You can compare it with the previous data frame. But here interpolate using linear method has replaced missing values with chronological ones. Like you can see that between 2nd of December and 4th of December, we have 3rd of December now. Alright, if filling missing values isn't an option for you, then you can drop rows or columns with missing data, for which we are going to use dropna function, in which you can play with the parameters. So the parameter will be how, whose value will be any, which is the default behavior. Rows with at least one missing value are removed in this case. We create a new data frame, dropped underscore any, and we write equals to tf dot dropna function, within whose brackets we'll write how equals to within single quotes any. Now we print dropped underscore any. Let's execute this code block. So you can see that the rows which had even a single missing value are gone. Use it with caution because this can lead to significant loss of data. Then we can use all instead of any. This ensures that only rows where all columns are nan are removed. So I'll go up now and you can see that in the data, I have created a row in which all columns are either nan or none. So I'm going to execute this code block, and then I'm going to recreate the data frame. You can see in this data frame, the last row doesn't have any value. Now I'm going to go down, and over here, I'm going to copy this code and paste it over here in this code block, and then I'll replace any with all, both in the data frame and in the value of how. Now I'm going to execute this code block, and you can see that the last row of the data frame, which had no values, is gone. Now let's use the dropna function whose parameters will be axis, whose value will be 1, and the value of how will be any. So let's create a new data frame, dropped underscore columns underscore any equals to, we write df.dropna, and within the brackets we write axis equals to 1, comma, how equals to, within single quotes, any. If we print this data frame, dropped underscore columns underscore any now, but let me tell you that we'll have to remove the last row of this data frame that didn't have any values. Otherwise, this code block that we have just written is not going to give us any data. So I have recreated the data frame after removing the last row from the data. And now let's run this code block. You can see that it has removed all the columns that had at least one missing value in them. Transaction ID, on the other hand, didn't have even a single missing value. That is why it stayed. If we use all instead of any in this how parameter, then it removes columns that are completely empty, retaining those with at least one non-missing value. Now we jump to another parameter, another important parameter of the dropna function, which is thresh. To demonstrate thresh, I will have to make some changes to the data. So let me copy this data from here and paste it in my latest code block over here. Now I am going to make some changes in the row with the transaction ID 103. I will introduce 2 more missing values in this row. Alright, so you can see that the row with transaction ID 103 has 4 missing values now. And let me really quickly create a data frame using this data, using Pandas Dataframe function. Let me quickly execute both the code blocks and print the df. Alright, you can see row number 3. In fact, it has more than 4 missing values. Okay, let me create a new data frame now, dropped underscore thresh equals to, it will be df.dropna, and within its brackets it will be thresh equals to 3. So what this will do is that those rows in the data frame which have at least 3 non-missing values will be retained, others will be dropped. This row has more than 3 missing values. Others, you can see, have less than 3 missing values, so they will be retained. Only the row with the transaction ID 103 will be dropped. And there you go. Row with transaction ID 103 is gone from this data frame. Now I am going to copy this code and paste it over here. I am going to change the name of the data frame by adding underscore call to its name. And within the dropna function, I am going to introduce the axis parameter with value 1. I am going to change the value of the thresh parameter to 8. This means that all the columns with less than 8 non-missing values will be removed. There you go. This means that only transaction ID and stock have 8 or more than 8 valid entries. Therefore, axis decides whether to drop rows or columns. How defines the criteria any or all for dropping rows or columns. And thresh over here sets the minimum number of valid values required to keep the row or column. And with this, we have come to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed learning how to handle missing values in Pandas from this video of Joystick. I'll see you in the next video. Till then, goodbye and take very good care of yourself.